2020 diary. Hello, it's March 2025. This is a negative review of the Fanxiang 4TB NVMe SSD. I bought this on the Amazon Spring deal, cheap. So the idea was to get a 4TB drive under £200, and I did succeed in the sense that this cost about £170 on the Spring deal. This is inside the box, and what we've got a screwdriver, we've got the drive itself and a screw, and we also have a fatal flaw. Now, there's two things wrong with this disc. First of all, something physically wrong, and secondly, it doesn't actually work. So that's a pretty major condemnation. But even if the drive was electrically working, there's a physical flaw, and this is what it is. So it's on the positive side, it's a single-sided drive, so the electronics are only on one side. It's a 4TB, and there aren't many 4TB where all the electronics are on one side. That's good. They've applied what looks like a metal pad on the top of it, but the metal pad goes right to the edge here, and in particular it goes around the mounting plate here. So the problem is that this doesn't fit in. I actually bought two enclosures today, and they'll be the subject of some other reviews. But if you see, you try to put the drive in here, okay, and they supply a plastic. This is the Oracle enclosure. This enclosure here has this plastic gizmo, which is going to try and slip over the top of this drive here, but it can't go enough into the drive because this bit of metal on the top is preventing it. So if you look at a regular M2 drive, here's one, you'll see that this would work, this enclosure would work on this drive, because although this component is really cheap and horrible, it would at least fit on this bit here and can turn freely. Whereas on here, it can't. Ironically, it can sit well in the closed position, but in the open position, it just doesn't sit. So this heatsink, or this bit of strip of metal, is what's causing the problem and renders this drive totally and utterly physically useless. Secondly, I've got an Acasis dock here into which I can put the drive, like so, in which case it just sits there. But then we found it doesn't actually work. So what a load of rubbish. It was £169, gonna have to go back to Amazon. Basically, it doesn't work. So if it did work, I might be able to give you a speed test. Since it doesn't work, it's rubbish. Get a better drive in future. That's the moral of the story.